swell of public support for more concerted action to deal with the challenge of climate change is not a European phenomenon only. This is taken hold very firmly here in the United States as well. That said, as big as these factors are, they're not a substitute for government action. This year we'll kick off, the UK will host the 26th annual climate conference. And world leaders have been getting together for 25 years to talk about doing something. And in that 25 years, global CO2 emissions have risen by 50%. And so while I think it is critical that we have more concerted action, I think, and companies have a key role to play, as do their investors, I think that's not a substitute for coordinated global government policy.
Amazon will acquire MGM Studios for more than $8 billion as it looks to cement its place among entertainment and streaming titans. The e-commerce giant says the financial value of the acquisition lies deep in the catalog of the content that MGM owns, which is some 4,000 films and 17,000 TV shows that can boost Amazon's film and TV division. This is the company's second largest acquisition ever, sitting behind the $13.7 billion purchase of Whole Foods more than 3 years ago. Amazon has ramped up its spending in a crowded streaming market as rivals like Disney and Netflix and Apple continue to churn out original content. The firm spent $11 billion on video and music content across 2020, up from its 2019 spend. More help for small and medium-sized firms in Taiwan as a new wave of COVID-19 infections hits the island. The government says it will offer another $3.6 billion in loans. The central bank typically provides the money to commercial lenders at a low interest rate, which they can use to loan to companies. Sources, however, say the final number may be closer to $20 billion. Last year, the central bank set aside about $11 billion to help SMEs cope with the impact of the pandemic. Malaysia's largest lender has posted a nearly 17% rise in Q1 earnings. Maybank says demand for loans picked up pace as the economic outlook improved. Net profit for the first quarter amounted to more than $577 million, beating analyst forecasts. That's despite revenue dropping almost 8%. While in the Q1 numbers suggest that Maybank has remained resilient, the lender says it remains cautious as the pandemic is not fully contained. SoftBank Group Corp's bank loans climbed by 42% in the year to March. The conglomerate borrowed about $46 billion from its principal lenders in the last business year. The increase in borrowing was shouldered by foreign lenders, company filings show. Mizuho Financial Group was the only Japanese bank in the top 3 backers, alongside Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase. This comes as the Japanese conglomerate has been building its tech investing operations globally. Well, that's it for business. Back to you, Jill.
Thank you so much, Eugenia. 10 years have passed since the deadly Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan. Some former residents of Okuma town, which hosts the crippled Daiichi nuclear power plant, have started returning. Michio Ishida reports.
Okuma town, ground zero of the 2011 Fukushima nuclear accident. 11,000 people used to live here. Today, much of it still looks like a horror movie set. In 2019, the government declared that parts of the town were considered safe for residents to return. Around 800 now reside in this area. Most are temporary residents who came to Okuma to help with the decommissioning of the damaged Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. About 300 are former residents who returned to Okuma recently, like 23-year-old Makiko Sato. Makiko was 13 when she was evacuated from Okuma after the triple disaster 10 years ago. She returned to Okuma last year after her budding theater career in Tokyo came to a dead end because of COVID-19. She has lived in a government-sponsored house since returning to Okuma. She also found a job with the local government.
まちづくり公社っていう、町民の方と役場の方の中間ぐらいにいる立場なので、 今はもう楽しめているその状況もこう明日仕事に行くの楽しみだなとかあんまり
Coming back to Okuma has triggered a sense of mission in her for the town.
奥間に13年間しかもともと住んでなかったから知らないことの方が多いですし、もっと奥間を知っていかなきゃいけないなって思いますし、さらにこう新しい奥間を作っていく世代だと思うので、そこは意識していこうかなって思ってます。
Makiko has settled in well in her new home. But Okuma Mayor Jun Yoshida said he cannot paint a future for Okuma yet.
この赤いところが、じゃあここは除染をいつやるんだとか、いつから、例えば住むことができるんだとかっていうこと、全く経営学の立っていないところがこの赤いところなんです。こういう大きく今3つですかね、分けられてます。こっちのグリーンのところは中間貯蔵施設ですので、こちらは人間が住むということはそもそもありえないところですのでね。
He said for areas that have been decontaminated, there have been efforts to repopulate them, although the progress has been slow.
特定復興再生拠点っていう860ヘクタールあるんですけど、そこを位置づけたところは除染をしてインフラも整備してということで、来年の春解除を目指している場所です。この黄色いところは。
This is the yellow area the mayor referred to. Ahead of the lifting of its no entry zone status next year, a new train station was recently opened in the area.
Ono train station reopened in 2020, but right in front of the train station are homes surrounded by barricades.
Hardly anyone uses this train station, although the commuter express train stops here. It will be a long time before a new future for the town arrives. Michio Ishida, CNA, Okuma Town, Fukushima.
Frog skins and fish scales can soon be used to repair human bones. Scientists at Nanyang Technological University have developed a way to use the biomaterial instead of a patient's own tissues. It will also help tackle the problem of aquaculture waste. In a first-of-its-kind study, the team used discarded bullfrog skin and fish scales to create the biomaterial. It acts as a scaffold for cells to multiply, leading to the formation of a new bone. Patients with jaw defects from trauma or cancer surgery may use this recovery method in a clinical setting in about 5 years' time. It could also be used for bone growth, such as dental implants. And that is it for Asia Now this hour. Your headlines anytime at CNA.Asia, Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. Bye-bye.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
This Saturday, could rising inflation derail the post-pandemic economic recovery?
Those parts of the market that are more overvalued could easily get hit.
Relooking China's growth model as its population ages.
Chinese babies are not growing into industrial workers in the future.